Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli back with another review video and continuing with the Halloween marathon review, if that's what you want to call it. Yes, you read the title of what I'm reviewing. I'm of course reviewing Hocus Pocus. Yes, Hocus Pocus. Who doesn't love Hocus Pocus? I love Hocus Pocus too. But, I'm not like those people that would just go nuts over it, It's Hocus Pocus, oh my god, No. So Hocus Pocus, it is fantastic, and, because I remember this, because the strangest thing is, it got, it got released, in July of 1993, and the reason for that was because, they didn't want to compete, the film didn't want to compete, with The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I can see why, let the Nightmare Before Christmas have its release and is, if you get what I'm saying. So, but I don't know, is Hocus Pocus one of those rare, holiday films, like Halloween, whatever, that would be released? I guess, in the summer, July, that kind of stuff. I don't know. But anyway, so, yeah, it is good, the opening to it, because, I think it's in the it starts in the 1700s? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And, with the witches, you have Winifred, Sarah, and Mary Sanderson, the Sanderson sisters, Winifred, Sarah, and Mary, and you have, Zachary Binks, and, played by Sean Murray, who would go on who would go on to play McGee in NCIS. So, and Emily, his sister Emily Binks, played by Amanda Shepard, she gets hypnotized by, Sarah's, singing, "Come Little Children," Zachary Binks, because Thackeray Binks, because there's a T and H, so I guess I have to say it like that. Goes off and finds the witch's cottage, and, is unable to save his sister, and Thackeray, knocks over, pours out, Winifred's potion, and, yeah, even the book that she has with one eye, so, I remember that. Of course, they become younger and such after, drinking from, Emily and such, after giving her a potion. And so, of course, the witches confront Thackeray, and Thackeray, I should just say Zachary, because that'll be easy for me, I don't want to keep going Thackeray, they turn him into a cat, to live with his guilt forever, so he becomes a cat, a black cat, and of course, everybody from, Zachary's, mother and father, and all the other villagers, they confront the witches by hanging them and such, and what has done to my son, Zachary Binks, they get hung and such, and, of course, years later, in the school, we see, of course, Max, and, also a girl that I guess he has a crush on, Allison, and of course, Max, his family had just moved in, to I forget what it is it San Francisco? I can't remember, but, Max kind of a bit pissed, and sad because, that they had to move and such, and he had to go with them, and yet he misses his friends, etc., and his young sister, Danny, yeah, she's good too, and so, they go out trick-or-treat and such, and then there are these, two bullies, Ernie Ice and Jay, and, Ernie Ice literally has the words ice on the back of shaved on the back of his head, of course, because, Danny trying to confront, the two of them, and of course, Max steps in, little art fight between Danny and Max, and then of course, everything's okay between them. They come to a house and such, which actually is the house where Allison lives and with her parents, and then they go out and such, and then they come to the witch's cottage, and of course, Zachary lights up the candle, black candle or something, that summons the witches back from the dead. And of course, they get out of there. Max gets the book. And of course, Zachary joins up with them, talking cat with them, And for some strange reason, because Sean Murray didn't voice Zachary as the cat. It was what's-his-face who voiced Max Goof. I forget his name already. Oh, yeah, Jason Marsden, if I'm saying this right. Why didn't Sean Murray voice him? I mean, Jason's not bad at voicing Zachary Banks as the cat, but I'm just saying, how come Sean Murray didn't do the voice? I don't know. Anyways. And so, of course, also Billy Butcherson, because is mentioned, and like Zachary tells the story about Billy Butcherson, Doug Jones playing Billy Butcherson. And so, the witches, they arrive at the grave and at the cemetery. They summon Billy, and she has Billy chase them and to get the book back, because they stole the book. And of course, like throughout that film, the witches are hilarious, like at one point, they ride on a bus, and I like how Sarah, she steers the wheel. And then of course, yeah, just even at that part where the witches, they come face to face with Gary Shandling, if I'm saying his last name right, who makes an appearance in this film as the devil, and his sister, that's funny, and at one point, because Max, they come to get help from a policeman, but it turns out it wasn't a real policeman. It's kind of illegal, don't you think, to be dressed up as a policeman? It kind of is, don't you think? Yeah, throughout this movie, I remember this because, like, it's always been pointed out in the film because of Max being a virgin and sex, everything is. I don't care. I just don't pay attention to it. I just enjoy the movie. So, I just watch it and enjoy it. So, I just thought I'd throw that out, But, anyways, and, oh yeah, and that dance party where Max and Danny's parents are, yeah, witchcraft being sung, and of course I Put a Spell on You, and, like, the witches that are there, and I just like, because, when the singer says, I put a spell on you, like, and Winifred just, I guess finds that a tree, very interested, because of that being sung, and I put a spell on you, just, and then, of course, Max gets up on stage, he tells everybody about the witches, and I know this sounds dumb, and of course, he points them out, and, thank you, Max, for that marvelous introduction. Of course, the big song number, I Put a Spell on You, everybody loves that, and especially the Hocus Pocus version of that, so, and so, like, Max, Allison, and Danny, they get out of there, and with Banks, and, like, Billy's there, still chases them, they make their way right up to Red Lobster and such, and then they make their way back to the school, and, like, tricking the sisters, by putting them into, like, a furnace, or whatever it was, I don't really remember, and they think they defeated the witches by killing them, etc., but of course, no, they're perfectly fine, they get out of there, and the witches even, they come face to face with Ernie, Ice, and Jay, and they get what they deserve when they called them chicks, and, like, they just look at them and, chicks? They put them in, like, cages or something, and that's funny. Well, that's what they get, so, they just, and so, like, even the witches, they go after, they get Danny and the book, and what's funny is that the brooms they get on, because earlier in the film, their brooms got stolen, by these little girls who were dressed up as them, so, the brooms that they're flying on, like, okay, Winifred, I think she is flying on a regular broom, I guess, like a sweeping broom, and Sarah, she rides on a mop, and Mary, she's on a vacuum cleaner. That's funny. That is funny. So, well, and they seem to work. Well, because of their powers, their witchy powers. So, and so even right after they get Danny and the book, Winifred tells Sarah, use thy voice, Sarah, fill the sky, bring the little brats to die, ha 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 ha. and Sarah singing, you know, down there, like singing from up top, flying and singing and summoning all the children, you know. Um, and so, you know, Max and Allison, they go after, they save Danny and get, no, they don't get the book, you know, the book's just left there. They save Danny, they get out of there, and the Ernie, Ice, and Jay, you know, even they're wanting him, they want Max to help them get out of there, out of the cages, and like, you know, Max gets the shoes that Ernie Ice took from him, you know, way earlier in the film, and like, you know, Max, all he says to them, you know, tubular, you know. I just like how Ernie, he just like, you know, just little whiny babies. And so, you know, they make their way back to the cemetery. Billy, you know, he has a hold of Max, and like, he cuts his mouth open, and those were moths that those were real moths that flew out of Doug Jones's mouth. And man, well, it's Doug Jones, you know, he managed to get through that all right. And the dialogue he gives, you know, just, you know, wench, you buck tooth, fly from hell, you know, and like, I waited centuries to say that, you know. Then I forget what Max says, but you know, and so, you know, Billy, of course, you know, Billy now joining them and such. Well, I guess he was trying to, and just, you know, well, because, you know, his mouth was stitched up, so, you know. So that big final confrontation of the witches and Winifred, you know, and even with the witches, they are evil, but, you know, they're like, it's like mixed. They can be funny, and they are funny, but also evil. And especially for Winifred, like, the big showdown between Winifred and Max, you know, like, I think even one point, like, Winifred does show her true colors or just something, if you get what I'm saying. I mean, if you watch it, maybe you'd understand, so, what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, of course, the witches get defeated, and yet right as the sun is rising, Winifred turns into stone. Sarah and Mary, they, like, beaming lights come out of them, and like, you know, Winnie, goodbye, as Sarah says, and then Mary, bye-bye. And then, of course, Winifred blows up too, you know, and even with Zachary being, so like, he saved, I think, Danny, I think Danny by, I guess, getting a taste of the potion, and Zachary dies, and then, of course, you know, they say goodbye to Billy. He goes back in his grave and such, you know, falls from his back, and then of course they find that Zachary has finally died, and then we see Zachary, his soul and such, you know, the witches are dead, my soul is finally free, and you know, we see Emily pops up, you know, and I forget what Zachary says to Danny, but very sweet of him to say to Danny, and of course, Zachary and Emily, they go off, you know, as you know, with the sun rising, you know, and then like somewhat the epilogue, like we see Max and Danny's parents, they come, you know, because they come out because the party's over and such, you know, they're just worn out and tired, you know, and then we cut back to Ernie, Ice, and Jay. They're still in the cages and they're singing "Row, row, row your boat." Then the camera pans to the book and the eye opens, you know. I Put a Spell on You is once again played, and the movie ends, the credits roll, boom. So, you know, the movie ends. Hocus Pocus is good. I love it, and it is a good Halloween movie and such, you know, and especially Disney, so, yeah. And hey, I'm sure a lot of us were excited for the sequel, so, yep. And I've heard, like, say, the director, the writer, I think the writer for Hocus Pocus 2, he's wanting the original cast return for the film. We need that. Go for it. Of course, that's what everybody would want, you know? It would be interesting to see, like, maybe Max and Allison, they probably would be married by now, because where the sequel would go, like, maybe we would see Max and Allison, they're now married and such, they'd have a kid of their own. For Danny, I'm not sure, like, would she too be married or something? I mean, I don't know. Because Kathy Najimy, if I'm saying her last name right, you know, she's now married, so, you know, I don't see what the problem is. After all, because I think the Hocus Pocus 2, it should definitely take place a few years later, so, you know, if you get what I'm saying. Maybe Danny would have a boyfriend, or maybe be close to getting married, I don't know. So, you know. But we'll wait and see. And maybe Doug Jones will return as well as Billy. That would be awesome. I don't see why he wouldn't do this, you know? It'd be awesome. So anyways, so for Hocus Pocus, well, I give it 8 out of 10 stars. That's good for me, you know? 8 out of 10 stars for Hocus Pocus. It's fantastic. It's a good Halloween themed movie. I got that in reverse. And yeah, you guys let me know what you think of Hocus Pocus. So, you know. So, once again, 8 out of 10 stars for Hocus Pocus. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Hocus Pocus. More new review videos coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward. More to come with the Halloween review marathon, whatever you want to call it. And I'll see you guys in the next video / review video. Take care, and peace out.